Confidence is the antidote to anxiety. What's up, everybody? My name's Elliot. This is another episode of Urban Sage. I'm coming to you live from my apartment. It's like 1:30 in the morning. But, I value this, so... you do what it takes when you value something. That's what I should talk about, but... I'm going to talk about how important having confidence is. So having confidence is the antidote to anxiety. So you got to ask yourself first, what is anxiety? What causes my anxiety? Anxiety is really just self-centered fear. Anxiety is, first off, you can only have anxiety with assumptions you're making about the future, right? I can't have anxiety about the past. Everything that I am anxious about has yet to happen, right? So you have to think about then why am I having this tensionous experience in the present because of whatever I'm assuming is going to happen in the future, whether that future is a moment from now or much longer than that. You have to ask yourself, why am I in such a state of tension right now because of something that hasn't even happened yet? And so, you ask yourself, why do I feel like this? And, maybe because unconsciously that you have no idea how to show up in that assumed moment that is yet to happen, right? So you're scared, right? I get scared when I'm anxious. Anxiety is really just fear. That's really what it is on some level. So you have to ask yourself, then how can I feel like I understand how I would show up in this future moment better, right? And then, maybe if I felt like I, was more firmly rooted in myself, I wouldn't. If I was more firmly rooted in if I was more firmly rooted with myself in the present, then I wouldn't have this assumption that I'm going to maybe fail or maybe not really succeed in the future moments that have yet to happen yet, right? So, and this is really the essence of confidence. Confidence is really saying, I know that I have what it takes to show up in a moment that has yet to happen, right? So confidence is actually the complete opposite of anxiety. Anxiety is, I don't know what I'm going to do, or I don't know how I will show up in this moment when it happens. And then confidence is, I know for sure that I have what it takes to show up in this moment when it does happen, right? So if that's the case, right, confidence is the antidote to anxiety. So you have to ask yourself, then, what is the contributor to having confidence? How can I have confidence? You're telling me that I can have a more comfortable life when I remove my anxiety because I have confidence. How do I have confidence? And that is a good question, right? That's a really good question. That's probably one of the main questions people ask themselves, especially in young adulthood, right? Because, if I knew how to have confidence in my younger years, especially now, but if I knew how to have it in my younger years, my entire life would have developed completely differently, right? Because rather than trying to avoid pain, I would actually have the courage to embrace it. So now, such a substantial aspect of my life has been to really try and understand what is a contributor to confidence, what allows me to be confident within myself, right? Because I've learned that, people say that you have to be in a place of discomfort to change, right? But if you are not comfortable with who you are when you reach that point of discomfort, you will crumble. You will not have the courage or wherewithal to move through that moment of discomfort if you are not first comfortable with yourself, right? And confidence is a substantial contributor to feel comfortable with who you are, because otherwise you're in a constant state of fear and anxiety if you do not have your confidence, right? And then you do not feel comfortable. So, how do you feel confident, right? The first essential element to having confidence is you have to know what you are confident about, right? You have to know what makes you confident, right? So then having an understanding of these elements within inside of you that really contextualize your identity is the first component of feeling confident, because otherwise you have no idea what provides you with confidence, right? So really taking this inventory and having an understanding of your character, your values, your skills, your qualities allows you to know what you have to contribute. And then you almost naturalistically put yourself in these right environments that are aligned with whatever those things are, those skills, quality, traits, characteristics, right? And then it has this exponential growth to it. Like, I'll give you an example, like something that I'm completely not confident about is basketball. I cannot play basketball. I'm horrible. It's just not my strong suit, right? But because I know this, because I'm very well aware of what I'm not confident in, I almost never play basketball, right? And the opposite also exists. I feel like I'm very confident in communicating, so I continuously put myself in an environment where I can communicate, because I know that these moments of communication will reinstill and validate my sense of self-worth, and it will enforce my ability to feel confident, and it will raise my confidence, and I feel more significant. And then in feeling more significant, my anxiety substantially subsides and almost becomes non-existent in these moments, right? But I can't really have an understanding of which environment I should be in until I have an understanding of what elements within inside myself are present, because then I have no idea what I'm trying to grow. And if I don't know what I'm trying to grow, I don't know what to put where. So if you want to feel confident, you have to have this understanding of what would provide you with feeling like you had some confidence, and really sitting in, right? So what I'm saying is that you're not that you're not following me, but just to create a little summary. Like, to have confidence, you have to have an understanding of who you are as an individual, so then you can express that in a way that adds to your confidence, right? Because otherwise you're put in a place that is not aligned with anything that you have to offer, and it's going to make you feel less than. It's going to add to your anxiety, add to insecurity. So then the question is, well, then how do I get in tune with who I am? How do I get in tune with my identity? How do I understand what qualities, characteristics, value I have to contribute? How do I do this? Because that's really such an essential component to feeling confident, knowing what you have to contribute so you can add to your confidence. So, really, like you gotta do some work. You gotta do some self-searching, that is really rooted in a level of honesty. In my book coming out, I have a whole process in which I really kind of lay down the groundwork and lay a foundation for a way that allows you to have an understanding of who you are. Really, you got to ask yourself, like the moment when you wake up, initially when you wake up, you have to ask yourself, like, what do I have? Like, remove all material objects from your utilization and ask yourself, like, what type of characteristics, skills, qualities do you have when you have no material objects to express them? Because material objects are just a tool to enhance what is already inside of you. Like athletes, like, are athletic and they just use, equipment. you know um, Musicians, they use musical instruments to express their talent, right? So material things are just they're an enhancer to what is already inside of you. And sometimes the alignment with what we're using and what we have to offer is off. It's not congruent. Like someone someone maybe, a pretty good musician, but they're putting in all this work and all this effort, and they're not really as far as they think that they should. Or there's just it's really, it's hard for anybody to like label and pinpoint from the outside, like, this person should or shouldn't be doing this thing. It's really an internal question that you really feel. But like, let's say like someone is practicing an instrument and it's just, it's strenuous, it's not enjoyable. It's like there's like this discomfort that's happening, right? Not even like this like discomfort of like growing through an unfamiliar moment, but really just like, this doesn't feel right? And you got to know that for yourself, right? And it's within anything. But so like, let's say someone feels like that with music, and they really have like a literary skill set, right? So like, and so in using instruments, it really creates an obscure view of what is inside of you. So in removing these instruments, for an example, in removing these material objects, you get to have a clear understanding of what it is that really contextualizes your identity. And in having an understanding of what really, is the component of who you are, then you have a clear-cut place to start in what it is that you should grow, right? So let's say you have a literary skill set, but you're using instruments because, like, you want to be a rock star, right? Or whatever, you like music, whatever it is. But it's hard. It's not even hard. It's really just this disease, and there's absolutely no like harmony, no pun intended, but there's like no harmony on any level. And so, you say like, man, there must be something wrong here. There, maybe not wrong, but there must be something that is not aligned here. Like, my behavior and who I am is not aligned. So maybe I can't really, stop, or change like who I am as an individual. So maybe I should stop or change, put down my behavior, right? And really have an understanding of my identity, my person, in its own standing, right? So you put down this material object, and then you start to have this understanding of like, oh wow, like, I'm actually really good with words. Wow, like, I'm actually a really good, like I want to say writer, but like, like, you have to know for yourself. Like, there are things about you that kind of express themselves naturally, and really being able to see that for what it is and say, you know what, like, I am really interested in other things, but this one element of me expresses itself just organically, and like, you just have to know that for yourself. Like, I'm sure there's elements of who you are that express itself continuously in your life, regardless of whatever environment you're in. And that's probably the thing that is really what you should be growing and developing. Like, in growing and developing whatever that thing is, you'll feel confident. You'll say, oh wow, this is something really special to me. This is something of real substance that, like, when people are talking about, something that I can't relate to, I'll know that I have this about me that is of extreme significance and has some real value. So even though I can't relate to something that other people are talking about, I'll know for myself that I have value, even if it's not in the area being discussed, or the area that's, in expression. And sitting with yourself, really sitting with yourself, and having this understanding of, yo, like this is really me, right? Like, and really pausing, taking some time to really study yourself as an individual, and look at yourself objectively, and rather than saying like, oh man, like all these things are so fascinating and I'm just going to jump into being a part of every single one of them because other people look cool, or I assume that I'm going to get some level of pleasure once I engage with it, like whatever. Like actually first, like think about like what about you has any real reasoning for its success in that environment, right? And like there's a line, like like this isn't like a foolproof plan, but it's a pretty good one. It's honestly pretty good. And really have an understanding of like, oh wow, this is me. Like where can I implement this? Because you can have a literary skill and still show up in a musical environment. They're called lyricists, right? So like, but first you have to have an understanding of what it is that you have to offer, and write down some things. Write down like what kind of stands out about you more than something else. What has been prevalent in your life, regardless of wherever you are in your life, regardless of whatever environment you're in. And really gain clarity of, your essence, something I like to ask people is, if you saw your ideal self, what about them would fascinate you? And that's probably something that you should invest in, because that's really your true self. That's really the essence of who you are, further developed. So investing time in it now, first and foremost, it will give you some real joy right now. Like, it's one thing to have a plan and be like, when this comes to completion, I'll be happy. But it's another thing to know while you're executing that plan that you're enjoying yourself. So in having an understanding of, who you want to become, you can really implement some time, energy, and focus into that area and start to grow that right now. And in doing that, it will by far certainly provide you with a level of confidence to show up in a moment that perhaps normally would cause you some discomfort, because in that moment you'll say, man, like, but I'm growing this about myself. I'm investing in this aspect of myself, right? I know for myself that I'm really making some genuine, substantial progress towards something that I value. And, even though that this thing is happening in front of me and, like I may not even know how I'm going to show up in it, I know for myself that I have this other aspect of my life that is so significant to me, and the value of that will leverage you through these difficult moments, and then it really just snowballs upon itself. You get through one moment that you didn't think you could because you had the confidence from some other element in your life being present, and then all of a sudden, like, you are no longer in fear in a moment that you thought would provide you with like some discomfort. You're no longer feared by this moment that you thought that you would fail in, and then a result of that is you feel more confident, right? And then you have an understanding of another element of yourself that is of value and of significance. But first, like, you really have to have an understanding of characteristics and values and attributes of yourself that really contextualize who you are. So, confidence is the antidote to anxiety, and to build confidence, you have to take some time with yourself and really have an understanding of who you are as an individual and say, this is me. Like, this is me, and this is great. And, I do this better than anybody else, or this thing about me is better than all attributes that I have, because it is, there's endless reasons, but because this is like really productive, and it, it provides progress and other things, and like there's real significance and value in this thing about me. And that's going to give you some confidence. That is really going to give you some confidence, and seeing that and knowing that about yourself, that there is this thing about you that is so valuable. It's going to transfer over to the other areas of your life that you may not feel so confident in. Like you may feel shy, but that you are really, really, really musically inclined or whatever. It's endless. I could give you a million examples, but the point is that when you have confidence in one area of your life, it will support other areas that you may feel insecure about, and then it just snowballs. So think about who you are and what contextualizes you as an individual, and invest in the things that really stand out, and you're gonna grow your confidence. You're gonna start to feel really amazing about yourself. And if you don't know, like ask some people like, hey, like, like, is there anything about me that you've kind of noticed is kind of, I don't know, special? Is there anything about me that you think kind of stands out in me more than somebody else? Ask people for their advice. People are much wiser than they may seem. They have a better idea of what's going on than than what may be presented. So ask people for their advice, about who you are, and be like, hey, what do you think about me? What are some things that are great about me? If you can't see it so clearly, and even if you can see it clearly, ask people for advice. It'll probably revolutionize your understanding of yourself. And then anxiety is like a joke. You're like, why did I even feel anxious to begin with? I know all these amazing things about myself. So, confidence is the antidote to anxiety, and investing in yourself and understanding who you are as an individual really builds your confidence. So that's it for tonight. I'm so grateful I got to say these words with you guys. Please drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe, share this video if you got something out of it. I'm sure somebody else would definitely get something out of it too. We're all pretty similar. And stay tuned. My book's coming out in the next couple of months. I'm gonna get it back from a publicist, and I'll let you guys know about that. I'm gonna start another podcast about it's called Urban Sages. It's where I interview other people who are really excelling in some attribute of their life, and just kind of ask them questions about how they kind of got to that point in their life, so their knowledge can be made more abundant through dispersing it to other people, right? Because that's what I think a lot of life is about, gaining some information and dispersing it to other people, so more people can benefit from it. So yeah. So, until next time, my name's Elliot. This has been another episode of Urban Sage, and thanks, you guys. Bye.